Welcome to the buy list. This is episode 34.
This is not financial advice. This is cardboard. What are we talking about this week, Ted?
We're talking, as we alluded to in our last episode, we're talking EV, man. We're talking Dusk to Dawn. We're gonna I think the EV is at a good spot now. You know, first couple weeks are always weird. Definitely saw it in Outsiders. And we're also going to talk about just like the all-stars of Dusk Till Dawn, and some of the Majestics. We picked out 3 of them. You probably know which ones they are, but I think there's some cool data to look at from TCG Player on those, just to give you a sense of you know, how those cards are moving right now.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so here it is. Again, this data, we're recording on the 6th. This data was pulled on the 4th. So just a couple days ago, I pulled this down. But, you know, for the most part, you know, it's definitely interesting to look at. Like I mentioned, Nate, you know, it finally got to a point where I felt like, you know, we got a couple weeks of data on this. We got, you know, we can see it kind of fluctuate in and out. And you can see right off the bat, you know, at a high level, the one thing I do want to note is that we're up like almost 4% from the week previous. We didn't show that data, but again, because it's just moving around on us. But being up over $90 a box, almost $93 a box, I think is really good for the set at the moment. We talked about this in our last episode, that it did seem like Birmingham kind of lit a fire under this set a bit.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was like Starstruck moving from basically, it was probably like $3-4 a card.
Mm-hmm.
It's now $11 a card. I panicked and turned off my TCG Player inventory when Bright Lights announcement dropped. I was like, well, I don't even know what I have up on TCG Player, but I'm taking it down, baby. So like I reactivated my store after everything like calmed down, and I put my Starstrucks back at like 1150, and they basically snap sold. They're gone.
Yep.
A lot of people like to play Guardian, as it turns out, and that card is really good. So, and the other biggest contributor is going to be the Marvel Angels. Someone went in and just like went Scoopiesville to basically everything, and it's no surprise, like those cards are amazing front and back. They look insane. So big movement there, and they're starting to move, and they're moving at those prices too, because they're pretty hard to pull.
Yeah, that's true. As you can see here, as you mentioned, Nate, we're sitting at like 20, you know, round up here, 25% of the value in the Angels. Mirror's uprising quite a bit with the Dragons, but these Angels are slightly harder to pull, right? Because you had rare Dragons. I think those, you know, the pull rates were a little bit more favorable on those. So yeah, previous, you know, looking, you know, in the last couple weeks, it definitely, this box kind of fluctuates with those Angels, right? And I think we got a bit of a bounce. You know, I don't have a lot of data to say this, but you know, it did feel like Dusk to Dawn kind of fell quick, hit that bottom, and then it kind of, you know, I was really happy to see that 4% jump here, right? We saw it in Angels bumping up today, this week, and then Birmingham bumping up. The Majestics we're going to talk about after we go through this chart. You know, it really started pushing things. And, you know, non-foil Majestics, 14% of the box value in those Majestics, right? As you had mentioned, Nate, sitting, you know, kind of being held up by Warmongers. Obviously, Warmongers is crazy. That's a crazy good card, and, you know, people want it. Starstruck, and then obviously Bright Lights. I think Bright Lights actually fueled some of, I think MEEPS was a card that was moving by itself, and then Bright Light's announcement just set it off like Tinder, because it's obviously a tech card for mech, right? The blowing up item tech card, right? So just things like that.
You blow it up or take it?
I don't remember actually. We have the card coming up here on the next couple slides. We'll have to read on it. I said that, and then I was like, you called me out live on television, Nate. I said that, and then I instantly tried to like just go right past it. I was like, that. Anyways, all right. So yeah, I mean, I think overall, I'm pretty positive with this set, Nate. Pre-show, Nate and I kind of dug into some data for Outsiders. It is the only, right now, Outsiders and Dusk Till Dawn are the only sets that we have data on from launch, right? We started this back in March, so obviously, that's where we're at. So we compared this to Outsiders, and the interesting thing is it took 7 weeks of, anywhere from like 4% to even 7% decline in box EV for Outsiders to see its first jump positive. We're sitting at 3 weeks, and this is the first jump in the positive direction that we've seen for Dusk Till Dawn. So I think that's overall a good sign. Now, Nate, do we think that this keeps going to like $100 a box EV? I don't think so myself.
No. I think it'll either stabilize or fall from here unless we see. I mean, then again, like we just saw Vincent win a battle harden. Like,
yeah,
that just happened.
Yeah.
In real life. Like, if people walk away and are like, I want to play that deck, Vincent singles will start to move. Like, the set is like pretty thin already in terms of inventory for a lot of these cards.
Yeah.
So we've seen it before. If a card pops off in popularity, those cards are going to start to sell, and the prices will move up quickly. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the only Majestics from this set Yanji was running were the widespreads. I don't think he was running Funeral Moon or Requiem.
No.
But he was running Oblivion, so and Carapace. So
yeah,
it's definitely something that could continue kind of like this, either like stabilization or fuel up. But I think it's very encouraging to see that the set is sitting $6 to $7 higher than Outsiders was at this time. And I think the fact that the Marvel Angels are carrying such a big portion of the pie, I think that gives a lot of stability to the set. Though I think we might need to. I opened 4 more cases, but I only got 1 angel. I think we might need to tweak those angel numbers, or maybe I'm just like the most unlucky person in the world.
Yeah, I opened a case myself and got no legendaries and just a Rainbow Foil Fable, no angels.
Okay, bearing the lead, you got Rainbow Foil MEEPS. Let's go MEEPS.
Yeah, I did get a Rainbow Foil MEEP. I was happy about that, but man, the case, she can be tough sometimes. I think let's not go crazy. I guess let me say this: like, let's not go crazy on this 4% up, right? I expect this to keep going down. When I ran the numbers and saw it go up, I was actually kind of surprised, right? Again, Outsiders was almost 7 weeks, and we saw it pop a little bit for various reasons. But it just even having any resistance. Dusk Till Dawn having any resistance against that negative slide, because that's what's going to happen with every set, Nate. Set comes out, there's a bunch of hype, and then it kind of falls and finds its middle ground, kind of finds its balance. So any resistance to falling and finding that balance, I think, is really good for the overall set. Again, Marvel Angels definitely helps that.
Yes.
So take that how you will. So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this, Nate, before we move on to some of the all-stars of the set?
No, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see I said no, and then I'm gonna like expound on a thought. It'll be interesting to see how this goes long term because we are literally 2 months away from bright lights. Like
Yeah.
it, and we're not used to this kind of cycle in Flesh and Blood. Like you look at Outsiders to Dusk Till Dawn, that was March till July,
Mm-hmm.
like middle of July. So you're looking at almost it was like 3.5 months, but
Mm-hmm.
before that it was Dynasty was
No, end of
November.
November. Yeah.
I thought it was it end or middle?
Not sure actually. It's sometime in November, right? Probably mid.
I mean, we've had these like 4.5 month like cycles between sets, and all of a sudden we turn around and we're getting slapped in the face with a new set. Which, listen, I'm all for it. I
Yep.
love.
Yep. This might
Um,
be the 4 set a years pace, right?
yeah, this might be
I
the
would
start of
imagine
that.
this is, yeah.
So like, what does that? What does that do to these sets? Are these sets maybe throttled back a little bit in terms of printing because there are going to be more sets?
Mm-hmm.
And then does that help these sets stabilize quicker and maintain value, especially because this is a supplemental set? It's not like it's going to get drafted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very curious to basically see how this plays out once Bright Lights spoilers start to hit and what we start to see from there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. My closing comment that it just kind of hit me, and you were talking about Vincent winning a battle hardened and Blitz, and just her popularity and how that holds up. We're not going to be talking about the widespreads, but looking at them, like they're like $2 to $3, $4 for those, which I think is actually, you sit there and you look at it at face value as you're surfing through TCG Player, you might not think anything of it, right? But I think that's actually a win in a way, right? $3 to $4 Majestic for one hero, right? That's not a generic card. It's only used in her deck. I think them holding value even 3-4 weeks out right now, at that $3-4 range is like another positive for the set. And Shadow's always been more popular than Light, so. That's just another little data point. So,
Yep, one more feather in the cap.
Yeah, you went Angels, you should have went Demons. Anyways, let's jump to the top. Well, I'm not even gonna call them tops. It's cards that Nate we've been talking about for weeks since they've been spoiled. But again, it's we got some data here. I removed the tag of hold, buy, sell because, like, geez, man, if you need these for your deck for Nats or whatever, you're just gonna have to buy them. Yep. But I think, I can't say like buy these or like definitely not buy these because these are like at the tippity top right now. But I don't know if these go down either, right? Like these 3 cards are amazing. Starting out with Warmongers. $37 right now, Nate. You see the chart, about 713, she jumped. And it's this card has seen a couple little dips as there's been floods of inventory, but overall, $30 to $45 seems like it's balance.
Yeah, I mean, you think the last 7 days 130 copies have sold, which is basically 20 a day. And there's 12 current non-foil listings. That means by the end of this recording, we don't have enough supply anymore for tomorrow. Like, I mean, like that is what we're like the burn through rate of the supply is.
Yeah,
like
non-foils, like over the last week and a half, Nate, like we've kind of pinged each other a couple times where it's like, oh, non-foils are completely out of stock on TCG Player right now.
Yep.
And this chart that you see here, it's just too much data to show ever, but how this chart gets built, a little behind the scenes for the listeners here, Nate, is that I do have a way to pull the data, the same data that you see on the TCG Player website where you can click and see what's sold. But the neat thing is that when it gets pulled into my spreadsheet, it gives me a timestamp too. And if someone's buying these at mass, right? From let's say five different buyers, you see the same timestamp. I've been kind of keeping an eye on that, and it's been very rare on all three of these cards. So we're not seeing somebody go in there and buying them all out at once because that timestamp would be the same. I'm not seeing that. Like a lot of the times I see a play, you see a play set sell or onesies, twosies, or, three at the same timestamp, but one at a time. So, people like to say, oh, it's a buyout. Well, it's a buyout by the players of this game, not just one person coming in and trying to spike the price on these. So, 12 current listings. Obviously, quantities vary on those listings, but 130 sold's crazy. Meta staple, for sure.
Hot take. Because listen, you got this far. You didn't get this far if you weren't here for the hot takes.
Oh boy,
card sucks.
Oh,
I think
you're going full 180. We've spent a month pumping this thing, Nate. You can't do this. We're gonna lose all credibility.
All right, so it doesn't suck, but I think like the more that like we've tested and like played against the card has lost a lot of its like strengths. Playing it like playing into Lexi as Icelander, like this card, if they're on trench, just isn't as good. Like you saw it when like Michael Fang was playing in the Battle Harden, like it because he was on trench, it not in the Battle Harden, the PTI event, but like because he's on trench, this card doesn't necessarily have as big of a blowout to the Lexi. And same thing with like the Rune Blades. They can kind of play
that a bit, please.
Okay.
Viserai has no way to play around this.
Okay. Viserai cannot play around this. Viserai gets hard hosed.
He gets hammered.
Absolutely hammered. Briar,
she has hands.
She still has hands that can attack. And Vincent can pummel. Like, easy. And like Azalea, who should be the most hosed by this card, top aided in the UK. Playing Rabbles and E-Strikes. Like
I think the timing is very specific on this card, right? This card can just get you, and if it gets you, you got. Right? Like but if it doesn't, if you're a Briar and you're looking down at rabble swarming, you know what I mean, you're like, oh, or lightning surge in your arsenal, right? You kind of play your lightning surge, if you're Briar, you bring it back lightning surge, you make sure that you're always arsenaling them against ninjas, Icelander, right? So I agree with you, there's ways to play around this in a certain way, as the Lexi player, as the Runeblade player. So it's not as it's not as like dirty as we saw, in the Battle Hardens at Cincinnati and Chicago, but it's still pretty dirty. And I think it deserves its $37 price. Maybe it comes down a bit as people play around it, but overall, really strong card. It'll be interesting to see how this card reacts. I'm sure we will be to the market. I'm sure we'll be coming back to it, Nate.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to the second one here, Starstruck. So right off the rip, we've seen this card. What's interesting is that I didn't mention it there, and I think Warmongers was probably the most immune to this, but I think even MEEPS has this where you see this like up and then a little bit of down, and then Birmingham happened, and you can see at the end of this chart that it was like, oh shoot, Bravo's real now. But 158 sold over the last week. Again, we're recording on the 6th. It's Sunday, so we're 1 week out. Again, no buyouts. I'm not seeing like 13 of these sold to one person or at one time, anything like that. It's a lot of players buying their play sets, and again, 19 current listings. Still really thin inventory on this card as well.
Yeah. 1 second. Let me check my abacus real quick. Yeah, it looks to me like over 20 a day are selling, and we have less than 20 in inventory. So by the end of this episode, again, we will be out of inventory,
Yeah,
which checks.
yeah,
I'm out of Starstrucks already,
yeah.
and I just put two up. Probably not more than 3 hours before we started recording.
Yeah, and I mean it's worth noting too that the current listings is not the total quantity. It's so there's probably there's going to be some more than 20 on TCG Player if you went and looked. But the thing with that is that there's going to be resistance line, resistance prices, right? So 19 of these listings, maybe 10 of them, like I'm being conservative here, maybe 8 to 10 of them are like purchasable, where they are, pay, what am I trying to say? Like $10 to $15, right? But then there's going to be a part of this 19 that's like $30. And it's like, is anyone going to buy it at $30? Maybe not. But, so it's very thin.
Very, very thin. Common theme with these cards.
Yep.
It's a good card. It's a Bravo staple, and if you want to play Bravo, you need the card.
Yep.
Card's broken.
The curious thing to me is that it was explained to me by a pro player that this card actually might be more powerful as a blocking card than a attacking card, which is kind of nuts because when this thing hits you, it hits you like a truck. That crush effect is nasty, but like the ability to block and then throw a spinal afterwards, real good. Like yeah, it's really strong. So definitely an all-star of Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
All right, Nate. Let's jump over to the last one. Some MEEPS. Again on this, we saw, so interesting enough, this card, back on the 13th was started pretty high, $10 or so. It kind of had that dip just like Starstruck had, and then we saw it rally. Bright Lights obviously helping this card quite a bit.
Yep.
113 sold over the last 7 days. Man, these cards are burning, dude.
They are flying. That's like yeah. When we've reviewed like sales data from cards over the last 7 days, we're like, oh, 50 have sold. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
70 have
yeah.
sold. Oh, that's a lot. And it's like these cards are. I mean, this was 3 weeks post released, and these cards are still moving. There's been plenty of events. There's skirmishes that are starting now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's moving.
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall Dusk Till Dawn is, it's screaming right now.
Yeah.
Nats is putting a lot of pressure on this inventory as well. I don't think probably not Meeps itself is seeing a lot of pressure from Nats because it's like Briar, maybe Briar plays this, but again, I don't know. Briar's not a real hero at the moment. So um so I mean, yeah. So I think Bright Lights is helping this out. I think this card is very good, and we will be seeing this card quite a bit, just like sprinkled into things, right? So,
Yes. And it is game control. It's Yoink sees an item.
it's pretty, yeah.
What can you?
Also, Bright Lights announcement while you're thinking about that, Nate. While I'm talking through it, talking out loud, the announcement did talk about how there are, I forgot, like X amount of items in this set. There's like a ton. There was like a large
Like
number.
30.
Yeah, 30 items. That's what it was. Thanks for that save there, Nate. But yeah, so if there's like 30 items, one of those heroes is going to be item based. Obviously, Dash, goes and grabs something, but that's going to continue. And then Meepsa is going to be like, man, come on, you coming in with two? I have to block this. It's just like asking for a block from any mech, right?
Yep. And then you go Razor Reflex. Can I has it?
Can I?
Can I
Yeah.
has it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely
So,
gonna be interesting. This card's either gonna be trash or very good. There's so much mech hate though that there's basically every set there's been mech hate printed, and this set was no exception.
yeah.
It is quite wild.
Yeah, that's kind of my theory, Nate, to kind of wrap up here. Part of my theory is that this bright light set has been in development for a long time. You know,
And
we've
they're
been
broke.
we we've been hearing. I think we've been hearing James White talk, like being asked about Max, and then him trying to like skirt the question the best he can for like years now. It feels like. So I think, you know, we seen very limited mech supports, right? Each expansion, like Everfest barely has anything like Teklo Pounder. Dynasty got some tricks, obviously Hanabi Blaster and T-Bone you know, the star of the show there. But I think they've been very careful because I think they've been planning this for a long time, and the way that this set is going to get people engaged in this game is going to be, you know, I have a lot of faith that it's going to be really cool. The crack a pack and play a deck is yeah, it's going to be strong.
Yeah, I really like that kind of entry point for a lot of people into the game. In like, there's no way these heroes aren't broken. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just been planting the seeds to prevent Mech from being this absolute terrorist in the format.
We'll
It's
see.
like smashing good time, Kyloria, Meeps,
Arc
Arc
Smash.
Smash.
Yeah.
What else? There's other
There's
cards that
other cards too. Yeah, I can't think of them right now, but there's more tech even than that.
dude, I'm excited for Benedict Cumberdash.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I want to build a robot. I want to build a robot set. I think the theme is very cool too. I think the theme will get a lot of new players. Like I said, the crack packs play is a great, like the thing that I thought about instantly, Nate, is that my younger sister watches my live streams and she's just like she's interested in the game and she like wants to play when I go visit them, but I'm like, how do I, man, like for someone that's never played a TCG before, right? I'm like, dude, how do I even start? Like, who do I play? Who do they play? But like now I can just grab a handful of packs and be like, yeah, shuffle these together and then we'll just play with what we got. Like I instantly thought that and I was like, man, that's gonna be sweet. When they nail this, it's gonna be really cool. So
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that it's literally 2 months away at this
yeah,
point.
so
As
close.
of this recording, like,
So cool.
yep.
But okay, Nate, I think that's a good place to stop. Yeah, good EV discussion, and we'll keep monitoring this. We'll come back to it, take a look at it here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, sounds good. Thank you everybody for watching, making it to this point. Please like, subscribe. Man, we are so close to 700. We are like 1 or 2 subscribers away. It'd be sweet to see that number. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Peace.
Peace.